Have you ever seen a berry that can survive in the desert, withstand frost down to minus 29 degrees Celsius, and heat up to plus 43 degrees Celsius, bear fruit for decades, require almost no care, and still keep itself on the branch without refrigeration or chemicals? It seems like something out of a fantasy, but this berry, the jujube, is considered one of nature's most astonishing secrets. It was said to sustain people in the hardest times, when food and resources vanished. Scientists have noted that extracts from its seeds improve sleep, reduce anxiety, and support the immune and nervous systems. Even more astonishing, jujube fruits turn into concentrated sweetness right on the branch. Imagine golden berries, dense and caramel-like, preserving their flavor and nutrients as if nature had built a mini fridge and pharmacy into a single bush. They require no processing, cannot be faked, and each fruit contains fiber, iron, potassium, vitamins, and antioxidants. This is not just food, it is a concentrate of health, strength, and energy. The history of jujube is remarkable. Thousands of years ago, it was cultivated in northeastern China, where cold winters and scorching summers could devastate the land. It was so valued that it was considered more important than many other fruits, and its fruits were stored in clay jars to preserve energy and strength for the winter. It is said that people used it not only as food, but also as a remedy for insomnia, fatigue, blood issues, and heart problems. Legends tell that travelers crossing deserts always took these fruits with them. They provided strength, quenched thirst, and allowed people to walk for days. Frank Meyer, the famous American plant explorer, brought jujube seeds to the U.S. in the early 20th century after his expeditions to China. He called it the most remarkable fruit plant I have ever seen. His goal was simple: to give people a sustainable source of food, energy, and health without chemicals or complex systems. Yet history almost forgot his work. Funding stopped, collections withered, and the plants remained virtually unknown. A system built on dependency and control over food did not want anyone to have a free, self-sustaining source of power. And yet, jujube lives quietly. It grows in harsh conditions, rarely gets sick, bears fruit for decades, and keeps its fruits on the branches without human intervention. Each fruit is a mini pharmacy: iron for the blood, potassium for the heart, antioxidants for the nervous system, fiber for regulating blood sugar. It is said that these fruits could give strength, vigor, and endurance where ordinary foods lost their value. Many modern fruits cannot compare to its resilience. Apples and peaches require chemicals, protection, cold storage, and regular watering. Jujube simply grows and bears fruit. It yields once a year, but that is enough to provide a source of strength and health for the entire season. No one can fake its fruits. Not companies, not the chemical industry, not complex systems. This is a fruit that remains free from all modern constraints. Every season, jujube repeats the same miracle. The berries ripen, water evaporates, sugar concentrates, and the flavor becomes thick, caramel-like, and chewy. They retain their nutritional value, staying sweet and healthy even without refrigeration. You can see it with your own eyes. A bush in your yard, fruits that provide health, strength, and energy. But there are even more astonishing facts that few know. In China, there is a sacred belief. Jujube fruits were used in rituals to preserve the health of village elders. Historians mention that they were brought to imperial palaces as a means to maintain strength and mental clarity. In traditional medicine, they were used for recovery from illness, strengthening the heart and liver, and treating insomnia. It is said that people who regularly consumed these fruits could maintain clarity of mind, strength, and endurance even in old age. Even modern research confirms the value of the fruits. Scientists have noted their high content of antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. Observations show that regular consumption of the berries improves cardiovascular health, supports blood sugar balance, and helps combat stress. And all these benefits are achieved simply by eating the berries, without complex procedures or processing. Jujube is remarkable because it requires almost no care. The first year, a little water and sun, and then the bush grows and bears fruit for decades. Its roots spread, new shoots appear nearby, forming a small self-sustaining garden. A single bush can produce 18 to 45 kilograms of fruit per year, and that is not the limit. With age, the yield increases, and the berries themselves become denser, with an even richer, sweeter flavor. And one more amazing property: jujube can adapt to different climatic conditions. It grows on dry desert soils, sandy slopes, in hot regions, and places where other trees perish. Remarkably, the bush is almost pest-free. No fruit worms, borers, fungal diseases, and no need for chemicals. Its resilience makes it a unique source of nutrition that can be used in the harshest environments. Jujube is not just a fruit, it is living proof of how nature creates sustainable solutions that humans have long forgotten. It is not subject to trends, storage systems, or industry, yet it provides everything: health, strength, energy, sweetness, and a unique flavor that cannot be replicated. Each berry is a concentrate of strength, each branch a source of independence from systems and chemicals. You can watch the bush, harvest the fruits, and understand that this is not just a plant, but a key to survival and health that nature has been cultivating for thousands of years. Legends and stories speak of its power, research confirms its benefits, and reality shows. A single bush can produce dozens of kilograms of fruit, preserving energy and health. And all of this happens right on the branch, without human intervention, without chemicals or technology. You may think you've already heard the most surprising things about jujube, but in reality, this is where the story becomes even more fascinating, because this tree has capabilities that make it almost unique among fruit crops. Let's start with how it survives, where other plants simply die. The roots of the jujube tree can reach depths of 6 to 10 meters, and in extremely dry regions, some root systems have been observed approaching 12 meters deep. That is far deeper than most fruit trees grown in home orchards. For comparison, peach roots usually reach 1.5 to 2 meters, while apple trees typically extend about 2 to 3 meters into the soil. Jujube essentially drills through the ground in search of moisture, pulling water from layers of soil that other plants simply cannot reach. That is why it can grow on rocky slopes, in semi-desert regions, and on poor soils where conventional orchards would never survive. But resilience is only part of the story. The fruit of the jujube tree also hides an impressive nutritional profile. Fresh jujube fruit can contain very high concentrations of vitamin C, sometimes around 70 to 100 milligrams per 100 grams of fruit. For comparison, apples usually contain 4 to 10 milligrams, and pears around 5 milligrams per 100 grams. That means a small handful of these fruits can provide 10 to 15 times more vitamin C than many common orchard fruits. For centuries, people recognized this intuitively. The fruits were dried, stored, and taken on long journeys because they helped maintain energy and physical strength when other foods spoiled quickly. Yet perhaps the most intriguing part lies inside the seed. Researchers have identified special natural compounds in jujube seeds called jujubosides. These substances are being studied by neuroscientists because they interact with GABA receptors in the brain, which play a role in regulating relaxation and sleep. In laboratory studies, extracts from jujube seeds have shown potential effects related to reducing anxiety and improving sleep quality. This helps explain why traditional herbal practices historically used the seeds to help calm the mind after periods of exhaustion or stress. Now consider another remarkable trait. Most fruit trees have a relatively limited productive lifespan. Peach trees typically produce strong harvests for about 10 to 15 years, while apricot trees often remain productive for 20 to 30 years. Jujube trees, however, can continue producing fruit for 60, 80, and sometimes more than 100 years. In older orchards across parts of Asia, there are still trees over a century old that continue to bear fruit. A single tree planted today can potentially provide food for several generations. Then something unusual happens as the fruit ripens. Unlike many fruits that spoil quickly once mature, jujube fruit can actually begin to dry naturally while still on the branch. As moisture slowly evaporates, the sugars become more concentrated and the texture becomes denser and sweeter. In fully dried fruit, the sugar content can reach 60 to 70%, creating a naturally concentrated energy source. It is almost as if the tree performs its own preservation process under the sun. Even the flowers of the jujube tree are surprisingly productive. They are tiny and often overlooked, but they produce significant amounts of nectar. A mature tree can produce hundreds of thousands of small blossoms in a single season, each one attracting pollinators. In regions where jujube is widely grown, beekeepers note that 1 hectare of flowering trees can support the production of 30 to 40 kilograms of aromatic honey when managed with nearby hives. There is also the matter of yield. A mature jujube tree commonly produces 18 to 45 kilograms of fruit per year, and in favorable conditions, older trees have been documented producing 60 kilograms or more. All of this can occur with minimal irrigation, little chemical protection, and relatively low maintenance compared with many commercial fruit crops. When all of these characteristics are considered together, the jujube tree stands out as a truly unusual plant. Roots capable of searching for water up to 10 meters below the surface. Fruits rich in vitamins and natural sugars. Seeds containing rare bioactive compounds studied for their neurological effects. Trees that may remain productive for nearly a century. And fruit that can naturally dry on the branch, creating a long-lasting source of food energy. Taken as a whole, it becomes clear that jujube is not simply another fruit tree. It represents one of the most resilient and underappreciated food plants cultivated by humans. A tree that combines durability, nutrition, and longevity in a way that few other crops can match.